So we'll start, sir.
Yes, we can start.
Yes.
Hearty welcome to one and all for the webinar. Hindustan Education Institutions is happy in organizing the webinar series from 4th June to 16th June. Today, we have Mr. Rajan, CEO of Human Capital Asia Limited, Hong Kong, and Mr. Ravindran Raghavan, General Manager, Group CEO's Office, IAL Group of Companies, Dubai, and Director of IAL Logistics, Malaysia with us for their sharing. This is their day 2 with the Hindustan Educational Institutions in providing their knowledge. Hearty welcome to both the resource person. I now kindly request the director to take over the session.
Good morning to all. Welcome to the webinar series. I welcome Mr. Raghavan and Mr. Ravindran for today's program. They're going to highlight on digital transformation for business survival post COVID 2020. Tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock, we have Dr. Selvaraj, who is the CEO of IMEC Education Group and University of Malaysia Sarawak Learning Center, for Malaysia. He is going to highlight on the prospects and challenges which are going to face in the post-COVID period. So it's my immense pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Little disturbing, sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Can you hear? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
I think your voice is breaking in between. We can hear, but not consistent.
I think we can continue, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Sir, it is little disturbing. You continue, sir. We'll
Hello?
do it. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Good morning to one and all. Today we have Mr. Ravindran Raghavan and Mr. Rajan, who is going to share the knowledge on digital transformation for business survival post-COVID 2020. Tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, we have Dr. Selvaraj Pillai, CEO, IMEC Education Group and University of Malaysia Sarawak Learning Center for Malaysia, on problems and challenges of post-COVID 2020. I have immense pleasure in introducing Mr. Ravindran Raghavan. His domain experience are supply chain logistics, customs clearance, non-resident operating common carrier, third-party logistics, ERP process design, international trade process optimization. He is a member of the Malaysian Institute of Management, certified logistics trainer, and logistics process trainer at IAL Group of Companies. He has around 30 years of experience in the industry, and he has held positions in IAL Logistics Singapore Private Limited, Director Supreme Straits Logistics, Director Straits Academy Malaysia, General Manager United in Malaysia, ASEAN countries, Technical Manager in Foreign Pass Malaysia, and currently he holds as the General Manager, Group CEO of its IAL Group of Companies Dubai and IAL Logistics Malaysia. He is also the Director of Multi-Heaven Malaysia. His areas of interest today he is working on providing a blockchain-enabled third-party logistics system in association with blockchains LLC USA. So we welcome you, sir, for this webinar session.
Yeah,
We
thank you.
also have Mr. Ravindran. We also have Mr. Ravindran, CEO of Human Capital Asia Limited, Hong Kong. He has 20 years experience in training, coaching, and consulting. He is an author and motivational speaker for a number of industry relations. He is a sports physiologist by qualification. He understands human potential and area of modification. He has done his graduation in abroad. His doctorate degree is from University of South Australia. Ravindran has a portfolio of events. He does a lot of training programs and leadership coaching assignments throughout the globe. He has extended his reach to Asia, Europe, America, and Middle East. On behalf of Hindustan Educational Institutions, I'm happy to welcome Mr. Ravindra Rajan for this program. Over to you, Mr. Raghavan.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Let me share my screen and start off.
Yes, sir. Ravi, you can start.
Ravi, over to you.
Yeah. My screen is visible, right? Is my screen visible, Dr. Sudhakar?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay, let me start off.
Yes.
So today, you see, we spoke the other day regarding sustenance during this COVID crisis period. Today, we are talking about the survival after COVID. That means if you talk about beyond 2020, what is going to change in the world and what are the things you need to sustain subsequent to that. You need to, the business need to survive as it goes on. So if you look at your journey today, what are the things I'm going to take you through? I will look at a real life usage of digital transformation. I give you a summary of what are the digital tools that currently is popular and being used in the world. And the last part, let me come to what are the opportunity for students in this whole thing. See, when the whole world is changing, your previous career plan and previous plan of what kind of jobs you want to get, that may have completely changed. So this we are talking about the new opportunities that comes up. So quickly looking at what is meant by digital technology, this is basically technology where, I mean, if you talk about a gadget or a device or a system, anything that processes data, that is what we are referring to as a digital technology. And if you talk about transformation, what is digital transformation? In a crux of it, it is solving the business needs using new technologies. Of course, we are well aware that new technologies are faster and they are dynamically adaptive. Dynamically adaptive means what you start today may change very quickly in the next few days. It doesn't take very long for it to change or to adapt to the new requirements. So let's take a real life example. The last presentation during survival, we spoke about this brinjal business, Katrika business. Now, interestingly, if you look at Tamil Nadu itself produces about 300,000 metric tons of brinjal. And India's production is surpassing 12 million metric tons. That's hell of a lot. So that is just brinjal. So let me today go into the potato business instead. So potato, if you look at Tamil Nadu, it's a small production of about 67,000 metric tons. And if you are a local trader, let's assume that you're selling this potato from Sivagasi to Sivaganga. What would be your process? And let's see whether as a local trader, what kind of business transformation you would be looking at. So local trader will go through this whole process. So how does he do this on a day-to-day basis? He'll make a phone call. I mean, this is only local, you know, is Sivagasi to Sivaganga. He'll make a phone call and send a quotation, or he rather will offer a price to the buyer on the other side. Buyer will again confirm on the phone. He puts the whole thing on a truck. The truck goes with a delivery order as well as the invoice. And at the end of it, he collects the cash. So if you look at this little chain of how a trader is doing this, and you say, fine, let's do digital transformation, that may be an overkill. See, this guy, his business complexity is not critical enough for you to talk about digital transformation. See, at most, he might move away from the phone call to a WhatsApp, and he can still do the business. See, he will not have too much of complexity. Now, let's look at the export business of potato. So when you look at export, India has exported around 360,000 metric tons of potato. And Malaysia, the country where I'm in and where Ravindra Rajan is in, we are one of the, probably the third largest importer of potato from India. Now, in this scenario, if you look at the potato going out of India, let's say now the trader says, yeah, I want to sell it out to Sharjah, to United Arab Emirates, another large potato importer of India. The moment the business transforms from that small local landscape to the global landscape, now we have added different variables. Now this guy's potato has to cross a port in India and it has to cross another port at the destination, which is in United Arab Emirates. Now in this scenario, he can still call and give a quotation over the phone. He can receive the confirmation over the phone, but this will not be enough for him to transact the business. See, he will need to add probably an email confirmation so that this is firm. And it doesn't stop there. You need to use multiple transport, including a vessel, a ship, and deliver the cargo across. In between that, a bank comes into play because the money doesn't come cash. It comes as a remittance from the other side. So when you talk about this whole lot, this guy, this trader who has become an exporter now, he also has multiple documents he's going to deal with, right from letter of credit, which guarantees his payment. He has to create a packing lease invoice according to what the shipping requirement is. He will have a bill of lading. He'll have the customs declaration where the HS code need to be properly mentioned. He has a third-party inspection on the other side. Various such protocols appear. So when you reach this scale, here you need some digital tools. Now let's differentiate between a normal running of a business and the post-COVID period. See, in a normal business, which is like last 5 years or 6 years, this guy can run the show with an email system. See, he may not need anything much more than that. With an email, if he appoints a freight forwarder, most of the work is taken care of. All the documents are shared on email, agreed, amended, and accepted. So these pretty much will run the business. Now, when you talk about what will change, you see, post-2020, the dynamics will change. So if you look at what are the changes that will happen, see, 2020 right now is an era of VUCA storm. I mentioned this term VUCA even in the last discussion. Again, here afterwards, Ravindrajan will go a little more elaborate on this. VUCA is a scenario where you have a lot of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. See, currently we are right in the middle of the storm where nobody knows what's happening. And post 2020, the economy is going to resurrect. It is going to rebuild after a storm. So you can imagine when a storm hits a landscape, it destroys everything. Similarly, this storm is destroying a lot of things that we have been usually doing. Our past normal behavior and past normal process may not handle what is post 2020. So if you ask, does my business require digitation post 2020? So this has a couple of factors that you need to consider to say yes or no. So let's look at the factor. The first factor, what level of digitization do I need? Depends on your customer. See, if your customer is a small trader sitting in Sivaganga, you will not need this much of storage. But if your customer is a buyer who's sitting in Dubai and he has 15 different outlets and it is that kind of complexity, the customer's speed, customer's expectation will be totally different. And there you need some digital transformation. What is the kind of business turnover? If you're talking about a very small business, you have enough time in a day to deal with it. You don't need too much of digitization. What is the supplier capability? If your supplier is a potato farmer, you can't expect him to send an email. So you might have a different scenario. What is your workforce like? If you have everyone who don't understand digital transformation, your company will find it very difficult to implement it. What is the competitive landscape? If you are supplying potato to back into Europe, for example, your competition changes. If you have a potato producer from Netherlands as a competition, your scenario changes. And what is your ambition? If you want to grow large, if you want to go into an exponential growth, yes, you need a lot more tools. So these are the few factors you look at to say whether is my business requiring some transformation. So what are the tools available? So let's look at a couple of tools. So if you look at all these, I'm not going to read one by one. You can see them on the screen. There is a whole lot of different tools. Okay, look at these few which I've thrown on the screen. This is a whole bunch of different tools that are available for a business to transform in different ways. Whether you're a manufacturer, you have additive manufacturing. If you are someone who's dealing with moving goods, you have Internet of Things. If you have a design related thing, you can use artificial intelligence, you can use design thinking. Illustrate a little bit on Internet of Things. I'm just taking one example. Look at that picture over there. That is the Amazon Go store. In Amazon Go store, you don't need to go to the counter to make any payment. You see, you walk in, you log into your system, you keep taking whatever you like, and you just walk out. As you walk out, you can have a receipt on your email. The amount of money will be charged to your credit card. So there is no touch point where you go to a counter and you make a payment. Now, a lot of you hearing this might say this will take a long time to reach India. No, but that is not true. If you look at this picture, this is a store in Cochin, in Kerala. This is called Water Sale. In this store, it works exactly like Amazon Go. You can walk in and you can walk out and you don't touch a cashier. So you're talking about this coming to India, it is coming very fast. So if you are in a mini market business, you are in a business of having a retail outlet, these are things which will be the sweeping change that comes. Now let's look at another example of blockchain technology. You may have already heard of this. So blockchain technology, if you look at the future of it, if you look at the picture above, it's a complex communication of multiple stakeholders, multiple parties. If you look at the picture below, that same communication is occurring in a systematic manner, recorded, and trust is built in the distrust environment. That is blockchain. So what is going to change in terms of blockchain? If you look at IBM and Maersk, which is a shipping company, they came up with a blockchain system that is going to address the logistic and shipping industry. Again, question is this going to take a very long time to reach India? No, it is not. See, this is a bill of lading issuing platform, and India just announced last week that it is going to digitize bill of lading. So this is not going to take long. It is already announced, work is already going on, and this is going to change the shipping landscape. What about additive manufacturing? Additive manufacturing refers to this thing like 3D printed items. So you might be familiar with 3D printed jewelry or 3D printed small pieces. Look at this. This is a building which was printed using a 3D printer. This is a building which has got an office, a cafe, and various things. Now, question again, if you look at the 3D printing per se, it is not discovered now. It was discovered long, long back. And is it going to hit India? Yes, it is going to. If you look at this 3D printed house, this was already launched and spoken and published by a group of IIT Madras people. So 3D printing is not there every day in your neighborhood, but it is coming. And if you look at 3D printed jewelries, this company, Imaginarium, is a company in India. They have already started doing this a long back time. And you can look at 3,500 customers who are already using this service. As students, now let's come to the more interesting part. If you look at all these different things happening post 2020, definitely your career landscape is going to change. So let's not assume that the old dream is going to work. The old dream is not going to work. You need a new dream. So where's your opportunity? So if you look at one example here, bill of lading. I mean, this thing is very close to my heart because I'm from the shipping industry. So when this thing happens, I know that the industry I'm in is going to transform like hell. And I'm going to need different kind of people to come and deal with this for the company. So if you look at the technology that comes here, this is going to disrupt the logistics sector. So what did I do? See, when this was coming like a year, 2 years ago, of course, being in the industry, I've already known that this is happening. So I formed a company in US. So if you look at this company, Blocks and Chain, this is my company in United States. We develop similar products and solutions for the logistic industry. So as students, if you want, you can go to that website. There are a lot of links where you can read and find out, a lot of free talks which you can participate. You'll understand more. And this is just one company. Mine is just one company. You have 100 out there which you can learn from. So what will be the employment pathway when you talk about blockchain technology? So there are these new kind of titles coming up, which is called the blockchain architect, blockchain technologist, blockchain developer. These are the new kind of competencies which the world will require after this. See, the moment blockchain starts hitting industry by industry, the highest disruption is going to be healthcare, finance, and logistics. So these are the three high impact industries on blockchain. And these are the kind of competencies you would require. Now, if you look at the global digital transformation scenario, so how do you pick out your opportunities? Look at this whole story. This was by McKinsey. McKinsey was looking at different technologies and how many % of successful transformations have taken place. So how do I look at this picture and say, where's my opportunity if you're a student? If you're a student, you need to spot your opportunity by slicing this whole thing. Let's slice it out. If you look at the first three, this is an old story. If you really frankly look at it, this is talking about the traditional web technologies. Subsequent to that, cloud services came and it is already big time. Mobile internet technology, it's already big time. And you can see very well from the graph a large number of companies have already utilized this. So for you to now say that I'm going into creating website and web technology, no, that's a waste of time, because that's already there at a very low cost and very easy access. Now, if you go to the next slide, this part, big data and Internet of Things, this is what is growing fast. See, about half of the companies that needs this is already working on it, but you have another ocean of companies which require this. Now let's come to the last part, that which is the most important and most interesting. This is where the real opportunity is. So if you look at this large part of technologies, right from design thinking to additive manufacturing like 3D manufacturing, robotics, artificial intelligence, these are the fields in which the career will be built the next 10 years. See, these are the ones which currently knowledge is there, availability of this story is already there, but the number of people who know this or the capacity to come and deliver this is very, very limited. So that is where we are. So if you look at the whole story of digital transformation, to take home, one is who needs it is a big question. It is not like everybody in the world, every trader requires that. The second one, a large number of you who are students, where do you want to hit in terms of chasing your career? So this box here tells you in a crux where are the good opportunities lying. So in conclusion, post 2020, first issue, you cannot escape from digital transformation. The scale depends on your business landscape, depends on your customer, your competition, and your ability to transform. But you as student, you have a brilliant opportunity here because there is a huge gap which you can go and fill. So that's the end of what I wanted to deliver. I'm going to pass on to Ravin. He's going to go deeper into how these transformations are done. Ravin, on to you.
Well done, Ravi. That was really nice. Very comprehensive, very good example. Actually, you have done the job ready. Okay. I'm just going to give an additional story. Okay, let me share my slides. There you go. Okay. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. It's afternoon here. And Ravi explained about transformation, digital transformation, and he said in conclusion, it all depends on the landscape. And he also did mention about VUCA. So my topic here is very similar to what he has explored, digital transformation for business survival post-2020. And what post-2020 means, basically, we are just after a perfect storm, and we call it VUCA storm, that includes 3 different kind of disruption. But I would like to focus on the word transformation first. Okay, the Cambridge Dictionary actually explains transformation is a complete change in the appearance or character of something or someone, especially so that the new change, that thing or the person is improved. That means this is a change management process, a change process that completely transforms or creates profound radical change in a direction that it takes it to an entirely different level of effectiveness, improve, right? So it has a little or no resemblance to the past structure or configuration. That actually gives a very weighty explanation or meaning to this word transformation. It's a metamorphosis of current organization or the person to actually fit to be strategically effective in the new environment. And the new environment post-COVID or post this 2020 is going to be huge. It's going to be totally a different world. They're talking about new normal. I think it's not going to be anything normal after 2020. Everything that we're going to see after 2020 is going to be extraordinarily different. And why? Because the storm that hits the current landscape are huge in 3 different ways. It is IR 4.0, technology revolution. Ravi did show you some of the technologies. There are more than 1,000 plus major technologies disrupting businesses and life. So this industry revolution taking place in a huge way. Number two, the global geopolitical situation is actually going through a huge chaos and what we call as a disruption now. So the new world order that we are anticipating after 2020 is so unpredictable. Nobody knows what the new reset of the economy is going to look like. We're going to have a new currency. I'm not sure whether it's going to be cryptocurrency. We're going to have new way of doing the economic finances and so on. So the new economy after 2020 is going to look very different from what we are experiencing now. And the COVID pandemic actually have caused a total paradigm shift, a mental model, which is very different from the past. So the mindset of the 7.7 billion people on earth is going to change, already changed. So with that landscape, in the last talk, the previous talk, I did mention some of the leadership solution, textbook solutions, and also some of the practical things that we can do, embracing this new digital economy, right? And I also mentioned it's not easy. So I'm going to explain today how we, as a consultant for digital economy transformation, how do we help our clients? My example is going to be more of a corporate setting, because the SMEs are not ready to actually invest big money into these new technologies. So I always advise the SMEs to follow their big principal companies. Most of these SMEs are vendors and suppliers to the big corporate organizations. So obviously, they can benefit when the corporate or the big organization itself changing, the government is changing, so the SMEs can tag along, come on board the wagon which is moving towards this digital economy. So this is our solution, consulting solution for transformation. It's a business transformation process, and we call our solution called the experience engine. Why we call it experience engine? Because we don't do this theoretically. We get into the business itself to help and hold the client and work with them, sometimes 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years, to go through the transformation, which they are going to go through it for the first time. They don't have the experience, track record, and much references from the industry. So many of them are leading this explorative venture. So we have no choice, have to hold them throughout this transformation process. So the components of the process basically involve, you see on the left side, business insights, big data and research as normal, the VUCA scan we call it. And then what do we transform? Basically based on the new digital strategy, we call it strategy 4.0, the new leadership styles and the new work culture, which is very different or going to be very different from the traditional business model. And finally, we use many of these data-informed activation tools, which there are 9 you can see listed here. So this is a 1.5 year minimum lengthy process where we work closely with the client, not just come up with some report documentation or recommendation. We work closely with them step by step, and that's the only way to move forward. Okay, so sorry. So this transformation journey takes 3 components to it: strategy, transformation, and activation. And I would like to share now how does it work. Yeah. So you can see the first thing is we do the VUCA scan. One good thing about this process, last 20 years we have been doing like lengthy transformation consulting work, and we realized that that is not very viable when the business landscape is transforming or changing very fast. So what we have to do, we actually put this solution, the experience engine solution, online or on the platform, and we do it in 30 man days, 30 steps process. So you can see on the right how this process actually works. Let me, yeah. We do the environmental scan or VUCA scan with 5 steps, and then strategic framework development in 8 steps, leadership action plan 7 steps, high performance culture. That is the training and all those workshops, educating and competency building on the high performance culture 8 steps, and finally platform business model on a dashboard implementation 2 steps. So we only guide them, we coach them, and they can go through this transformation in a disruptive environment very easily. So this process actually helps the organization transform safely into these uncharted territories of digital economy. We also support them with many seminars and global seminars like that. And we can help them on transforming their business model from traditional pipeline model to what we call the platform business model. Like for example, e-commerce platform. Not every company, as Ravi put it, need to go on an e-commerce platform. But looking at the population of India, for example, you have like 1.3 billion people who have a similar need in business. And then you can see a mobile subscription in India is 1.19 billion. So basically, almost all the Indian population are already on mobile. And internet users, 500 million. And social media users, 300 million. Mobile social users, also 300 million. So you look at these huge numbers of marketplace. Obviously, e-commerce going to be the prime economic model. So some businesses need to look into e-commerce platform as their business solution. And then the country itself, having a huge population, education can be a very expensive budget. Transforming and upskilling the manpower can be very costly. But when we build a national competency or the upskilling part, we can actually use the online model or what we call as the online upskilling or human capital development process. So these are some of the samples. The whole government can go online, which India is very advanced now. So some of these organizations, smaller agencies, this is a solution for training entrepreneurs, right, throughout the ministries. And then we run programs like what kind of leadership development need to be looked at. We are researching a lot on the latest leadership pattern, because the traditional leadership model doesn't work. It produces debilitating paradoxes in results. What we thought, especially in the MBA programs, what we thought works as a solution for business now may not produce the same result. So we have looked into new leadership tools, and then we also need to run some masterclass kind of programs for the university, for example, with all the industry experts. The new industry is changing. We need the new technologies embedded in the management and also the operational process of businesses. And then business models need to change from pipeline model to platform models. And here is a sample of a healthcare platform, which puts everything on the healthcare on a platform, which you can actually do it mostly on a handphone in your hand. And then below there is the new education platform, virtual blended learning, which is going to transform the future of education and training. I will call it more of a learning industry, no more training or teaching industry, which I did discuss the last time, that the education platform model is going to be revolutionary. It's a very disruptive industry. So the VBL, Virtual Blended Learning, is going to transform your industry, university and education, and the classrooms and the workplace going to look something like this, where we work and learn at the same time in a totally different environment, which looks more relaxed and comfortable, where work is more productive in such environment rather than the factory model that we used to in schools, universities, and in the office space. So technology platform going to transform that. And we also a partner of this huge organization called Asian Center for Leadership, which is empowered by Huawei China. Sorry, India, for that. Basically, this is about future leaders, future leadership development. We have the Asian way of doing it. Indian civilization is a great leadership culture. We need to explore that too. And then we have individual leadership or personal leadership programs, personal empowerment programs, especially for the youths who are millennials, who think differently, work differently, and they have their lifestyle very different. We need to support them, we need to enable them, and we help countries like Sri Lanka to do this kind of youth empowerment into the digital economy. Just like what Ravi said, the education sector also need to prepare for the future jobs. Future jobs are very different. Most of the past jobs are disappearing, and the new technology need to be embraced in the university, preparing our students for the industry. And these are most of our technology partners. We don't do this ourselves. We need to collaborate with all the technology partners in the world who can enable this transformation for every client that we work with. So basically, I have just give you a snapshot of what we do to help and enable digital transformation into this digital economy. That's my quick take of how we not survive, but we need to lead transformation post 2020. Thank you, everyone. I'll take questions.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
It was really good. Today we learned about the potato business. We're going to start up the business today. And thank you, sir. Both of your questions was too good. I just wanted to know if any of the participants have any questions from the chat box. No, I don't find it out. Audience, any of you wish to raise questions to the resource persons? They are here with us.
Hi.
Yes, Joy.
Okay. Hi, Dr. Ravijan. I'm Jovi. I'm a business student.
Hi, Jovi.
So I asked you a question about you said the first slide is the digital transformation. But I asked you a question is, what's the difference between digital technology and digital transformation?
Okay, when we talk about things like Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, or we talk about blockchain, these are the technologies behind it. When you say digital transformation, it is like taking, say, a business which is doing business in a traditional way and bringing in these digital tools for them to do business slightly differently. So to give you an example, like let me give you an example from my industry. See, in third-party logistics, we have vendors who provide us services with a certain price. So let's say I have 5 transport vendors giving me prices. Traditionally, I have this whole thing in Excel sheet, and when a customer is asking for a quotation, I'm checking this and giving him a quotation. Now, what did we do to transform this? We built a platform where these vendors will log in and update their rates. Now, when the customer is giving me an inquiry, now when these parameters are updated, the system automatically picks up from here and gives him an answer. So the advantage was, in the past method, I had about 5 operations guy who's dealing with about 300 customers. Now, today in this platform, with the same 5 guys, I can easily handle about 1,000 to 2,000 customers because the system is doing all the answering. So when you say digital transformation, transforming the way I do the business, that is a digital transformation. The digital technology is the technology behind what I have chosen to put in the company.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I like the presentation and the last one for the conclusion. Like I saw the conclusion side is that as a student, I have the brain opportunity. Like me, I'm the good student.
Okay, great. So hope you will pick up those points and utilize that opportunity.
I do my best.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joy, for your questions. Participants, if you want to clear any doubts of yours. Yeah, so we have a question in the chat box. Oh, so you have talked about the change in the education sector that I preparing a student for the industry. How do expect this now, which wasn't possible pre-COVID time, and as the country has minimum access to the digital media? You can check it out. It is from Anko.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm looking at the question in two parts. How do we prepare students for the industry post-COVID? And secondly, country has minimum access to digital media. Obviously, that's a challenge. Okay, let me answer the first part of the question. How do we prepare students for the industry? This is where the traditional education system, which we call it a pipeline model, is becoming less and less effective in producing employees for the industry. You see, why? Because the traditional education model is based on knowledge or content produced by researchers and professors, basically subject matter experts, who believe these are the knowledge that educates the students for the jobs that they may get in 5 years or 15 years time. But unfortunately, the industries are changing very fast now. The technology that Ravi was mentioning just now in the industry that applied for the businesses are transforming or changing very radically. So the employees that we need next 5 years or 10 years going to be very unprepared if we use the current knowledge, right? So the pipeline model or the factory model of education from the past, the traditional model, will not produce the competent, capable, or skilled employees for that time or duration of the industry, the business need of it. So what the industry is requesting now are graduates, employees, technologists who can immediately solve their business need. So many universities understand this. So what they do, they work closely with the industry to modify or even customize the content of the programs. One of the options that most universities use is their internship program. Their, what do you call it in India? The industry.
We call it as industrial training. Or
industrial training. Yeah. Okay, the internship or the industrial program. So this used to be 3 months those days, then becomes 6 months, 1 semester. And some universities now are making it 2 years out of the 3-year program. Can you imagine? Most of your learning now is with the future employer or the industry. The theory becomes only 30%. So this is the future. In our VBL, Virtual Blended Learning Model, the theory is only 10%. The industry or the real business knowledge is 90%. That is the future we are preparing our learners. And the training in the corporate world, we use this model called on-the-job learning, on-the-job training. That means while you're working, you learn. While you're learning, you perform your duties. That means the workplace becomes your university, rather than there is a two different distinction between education and also the industry. So the industry is a learning industry, and learning center is also a performing job related business. So this border or demarcation is disappearing. It's converging into one learning and performing, or learning and working industry. So that's where you can see the future is moving. The second part on the digital media and access to digital, this is many countries, this is an issue that many countries are already solving. I think by 2025 or 2030, the United Nations has a goal to make sure the whole world population will have access to internet. Internet will become a human right, basically, just like water and food. It will become a necessity that everyone, maybe you may not have food on the table, you may have internet first. That will be solved next 10 years. Yeah, I hope I answered that question.
Yes, sir, you have that. But it is a long-term process, am I right? If not, how fast can it be done? Or is it already happening? Is educational sector itself a business industry? Please answer.
Okay, this is where you put me in trouble, right? Okay. Yes, it is difficult because the industry is a business sector. Yeah, you are right. The transformation is already here. The need or the necessity is already availed. Unfortunately, it costs a lot of resources and money for these education sectors to transform. Let me give you an example. You are actually sitting in a campus, maybe $100 million campus with all the classrooms, buildings, offices, infrastructure. They would have spent millions and millions to build this campus, right? But where this learning is happening now is not in your building, not in your classroom, it is happening online, on the cloud, which doesn't cost anything. Do you realize this? So the future is almost like very minimal cost. The technology is enabling you to do that, and you can have like 10,000 people in one class. It doesn't have to be 25, 50 people in a class. You can have live stream classes with 10,000 people. I still remember Coursera, Harvard program, where they had 166,000 people in one class, which is a virtual class. So this new way of learning and teaching and imparting knowledge is going to disrupt the current business. Is going to cause a lot of pain of change and transformation. But it's not that you don't make money. But if you manage to successfully transform, you'll make more money because your market grows. Just like what Ravi said. Now the potato sales guy or the potato trader now becomes a potato global exporter. He makes millions, right? The market has grown. So that is an opportunity in that crisis. Crisis always produce opportunity, right? So let's embrace it in a positive mindset. Yeah. So that's why it's a bit difficult, but it's not going to be long term. It's already happening. I'm sitting in this resort who has changed a 500 room 6-star hotel into a leadership center. And we don't need the classrooms and the halls at all. We only need the online cloud platform. You see? So this billions of investment going to be transformed. But when we do the classes on cloud, it's going to run in millions of participants all over the world have access to this new knowledge. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm
you
seeing
so much.
another question there on human resource management. Just slightly before
Okay.
Anku's question.
What technology you need to focus
Yeah.
on? Human resource? Okay, that's also my area. We do human capital development. Okay, technologies for human resource. You will find human resource have many functions, right? So recruitment and selection will be all online. We have partners from US who runs recruitment, interview, and selection all online, and it's AI enabled. That means no human being actually come into the process of recruitment of new employees. So there's no face-to-face interaction with human touch into it. So AI can take over recruitment. When it comes to onboarding, there's a lot of online onboarding happening. That means you join a company, no need to go to the building and join. You join wherever you are because you're going to work from home, most of you, in future. And because of that, the human resource becomes very different way where you interact with human being. This COVID situation is a real example how future work going to be. You no need to go to office. You can work from wherever you are. In fact, my friend Ravi here, he's stuck in his home office every time he need to do it now, right? But the moment everything, the office goes mobile on the phone platform, that will transform even more. That means you don't even work from home. You work from anywhere. We call it Atawad, ATAWAD. Atawad means anytime, anywhere, any device. So your office is going to be anywhere, anytime. In fact, you won't have this sleeping time, eating time, resting time, and working time. 24 hours is your work, 24 hours is your life, 24 hours is your resting time. So you need to live differently. Lifestyle going to change because of this technology revolution. Okay, then training, as I mentioned, training and learning going to change, and human resource. When it comes to compensation, payroll, and all this human resource, it's all going to be automated, right? You already have this HRMS system, which is all digital. Training is all online, and the processes, all the HR processes is all automated. Yeah, and finally, people management. How do you do the what do you call it? Industry relation, law, and procedures, SOPs, ethics. All that is online. So human resource will become robot resource or IT resource. It's no more human, mostly. Yeah. So it's a transhuman resource. That's a good question, actually. Very close to my transformation thing, because we do people transformation mostly. That is where the real challenge is. Transforming human being, people, is the biggest challenge, stumbling block in company corporate transformation. Yeah, thank you for the question.
Can I just add something?
Please, Ravi. Please,
Yes.
Ravi.
You see, if currently the student is doing human resource management, say MBA, HR, or something like that, based on your explanation, post 2020, the person will not have a job. So what should the student do to ensure that there is a job? So what is a new thing to learn as an MBA HR such that you are relevant for the post 2020 job market?
Okay, the good news or the fortunate thing is most of the companies are not embracing the advanced human resource practice yet. Only the big organization who are trying to become more cost effective and efficient in their human resource practice, they are embracing technology very fast, right? So rest of the companies still have a HR position. They're still recruiting people with HR degree and HR MBA. But as you enter that job, you must quickly adapt and try to help your organization with all the future HR solutions. They will value you more because you are bringing transformation, digital transformation into the business and the company. But if you follow the previous management, previous culture, then they will find your value add is less. So they are interviewing and recruiting students who has valuable digital information and knowledge for helping the organization to transform into future. Because many of these Gen X leaders and managers of the SMEs or businesses, they need help. Just like at home, most parents are asking their children to help them with their handphone, right? So if you have young people in your organization coming in and helping the older generation to transform and manage the challenges of this digital economy, you'll become more valuable for the organization. That's what I'm trying to say. Be prepared with the future, just like what Ravi prepared you for. Be prepared, preemptive the changes. And you become the change agent for the employers of your future. Yeah?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sure, our students would train themselves for meeting up their needs in the environment. We had a question from the audience side stating for the requirement for the video session, the copy of a session. We wish to let you all or remind you that the session has been live telecasted in Facebook group. The link for joining the Facebook group is been available, it's been mailed to you if you have registered participants. So kindly register yourself for the Facebook group, and the videos are being recorded over there. You can make use of it. Audience, if any of you wish to raise any questions? PPTs to our mail ID. So can we share our PPTs?
I'll do something. I'll give you our PPTs. We'll share it with Dr. Sudhakar.
Yes, sir.
And then you can
we'll do it. Fine, sir. Once the resource person is sharing the PPTs, we'll share it to the register mail IDs of the participants.
Yeah.
Participants, kindly make use of the feedback form. Thank you, Ravin sir. Thank you, Ravindran sir. It was really informative. We are focusing towards, we are transferring ourselves from the next to the COVID, post-COVID. Really, your thoughts were too informative. We are getting ready to be an entrepreneur and also to meet the requirements of the entrepreneur. Thank you so much for your wording.
All the best for digital economy.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, Ravi, and thank you, Ravi.
Thank you, Dr. Sudhakar. Nice meeting you all.
Yeah, thank you, Ravin and Ravi.
Thank you, participants, for your support. Do kindly join us tomorrow with the same login ID and password at 11:30 a.m. for another session by Mr. Dr. Selvaraj Joyan Pillai. Do join us tomorrow. The feedback form will be active for 15 minutes from now.
Okay.